So as a facilitator of the Awakening the Illuminated Heart workshops for Drumbelow Melchizedek, after people come to the 4-day workshop with me, sometimes people are practicing to activate their Merkaba if they don't do it in the workshop. And then afterwards, they'll message me and ask, how do I know if my Merkaba is activated? So I thought I'll just come on here, shoot a quick little video, and tell you some of the tips and tricks I have to know that your Merkaba is activated. Now, when it activates, often you feel something. There's some experience that you have at that time that lets you know that your Merkaba is activated. Sometimes people will feel the star tetrahedrons start to spin around their body, the spinning starting up. Sometimes people feel the disc that pops out, right? There's a disc 3/4 of an inch above your perineum where your 8 original cells are, and where the disc pops out that goes out to a field 55 to 60 feet in diameter around the body, like a record or a computer disc would be, right? And so often when people are activating their Merkaba, they may feel that disc pop out. Some people feel an explosion of energy going outward toward that edge of the field. And now if it's 55 to 60 feet in all around, then it's maybe 27.5 to 30 feet out in each direction from you. And so you may actually feel that explosion of energy going out. Some people feel an orgasmic wave because this is creation energy. Some people feel extreme heat and dizziness, sometimes even cold energy, I've heard, and occasionally emotional wave of just emotions and tears or incredible joy. Now, I've taken over 1,000 people through this workshop over the last 12 years, and so I've heard so many different reports of different ways that it can look, but there's often something that happens that lets you know an event happened here. Occasionally, though, it can be subtle. And sometimes somebody already has their Merkaba activated before they come to the workshop. And if that's the case, because it can happen spontaneously, even if you don't know what the word Merkaba is. But if that was the case, that it were already activated, you wouldn't have an experience in the workshop of an event happening, right? Because it's already activated. But even if it does happen, either in the workshop or after, while you're practicing the daily meditations, if it's subtle, you might wonder, did it really happen? I'm not sure. And then another reason that we sometimes can be unsure is that we just doubt ourselves. It's just so common in human nature that we are doubting our experience and second guessing it. Even when I activated my Merkaba back in 2011, it was such an obvious feeling that I had, an explosion out from my field, that it was undeniable, and I still denied it. Like, I still doubted it and wasn't certain, and had to have someone check me with dowsing rods. So that'll lead into what I'm going to talk about next, are ways that you can check if your Merkaba is activated. And the easiest way is dowsing rods. So you can get a cheap set of dowsing rods on eBay or on Etsy, or you can follow some instructions that you might find online to make your own out of metal coat hangers. So pretty simple, but you've got these dowsing rods, little L-shaped copper, and if you have someone who knows how to use them, then you're all set. If not, you're going to have to teach someone how to use them, because you have to have someone else check your field with the dowsing rods. And what you would do is you would have that person stand, maybe 8 feet away from you. And then that person is going to be familiar enough with the dowsing rods, holding them in their hands so that they're not moving, and say, I'm going to read Viola's Merkaba field, and Viola's Merkaba field only, and using myself as an example. And then they're going to have me, if say I'm the subject, start to walk toward them slowly, very slowly. So that way, when I get to closer to them, and my Leonardo sphere, which is the sphere of energy that contains the star tetrahedrons that activate and get the Merkaba spinning, when that field comes in contact with the dowsing rods, if there is an electromagnetic field there, the rods will open, because this is an electromagnetic field and it is readable. It's readable by technology, and it's also just readable by these rods. So the rods will open to respond to that field, and if the person doesn't have the field, the rods will stay the same, or they might even collapse in on themselves. You can also read the field at the edge, the 27.5 to 30-foot edge of the Merkaba field, and that's a little harder because you have to get a lot further away. I find it a lot easier to do right on the edge of the Leonardo sphere. So saying, you can also check with using a pendulum. If you're familiar with using a pendulum and how that works, there's plenty of how-tos online. You can check in with the pendulum. You can use kinesiology and muscle testing for yourself if you have some of those methods that you are familiar with. Another way is to go into meditation with your higher self, which is, of course, something that we cover in depth in the workshop, and ask your higher self directly. Go into your tiny space of your heart, ask your higher self to come in, and ask them if you have activated your Merkaba. Another way that is helpful to check your Merkaba field is at the disc. Now that disc that pops out that we talked about, 27.5 to 30 feet out in all directions around you, which is 3/4 of an inch above your perineum, which is the place of skin between the genitals and the anus, and about 3/4 of an inch above that. So pretty much when you're sitting down, you're sitting on this spot where the disc is. And it's there. And so you could get sensitive to the energy in the palm of your hand. And then slowly slide your hand up and down your body at the hip waist area and sense in your body if you can feel this place. And you may feel, like, say, here's my disc. As my hand is sliding through, I will feel a subtle energy going through my hand where that is. So those are some ways to check if your Merkaba activates. And so much love to you all.